evening at 6 o'clock on Monday, April 10th, 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. Though the two leaders, Prime Minister Rama and the Democratic Party chairman, appear to be trying to communicate, they seem to be unwilling to dialogue for compromise. During a discussion at the protesters' tent, the DP chairman declared that their negotiator is waiting, though he added that they don't want dialogue just for show. DP negotiators are ready to prepare the dialogue, a dialogue for solutions. The Albanian people are waiting, but not for a facade monologue, said Basha. Meanwhile, after the Socialist Party parliamentary group met, the Prime Minister stated that he is willing to dialogue, but added that he will not accept conditions, saying Albania cannot go backwards. Violence is not an alternative and threats are not a program. Let's discuss and find a solution for the opposition's claims within the framework of the Constitution. The Prime Minister added that governance is a responsibility, not a privilege you just give up. However, the DP chairman said he is determined to not give up on establishing a provisional government and reiterated his demand for electronic vote counting, calling it the guarantee for free elections. The spokeswoman of the European Commission, Maja Kocijancic, commented today on the political situation in Albania. During a briefing with journalists from the regional countries, an Aura News journalist asked the spokeswoman to comment on the political crisis, and she had this to say. We expressed our regret when the boycott first started because we believed that the political debate should not take place outside, but rather inside the parliament. From our perspective, cooperation between the government and the opposition and their dialogue are crucial for the country's ambition to join the European Union. The preparations for the upcoming parliamentary elections are an important part of this process, and we will follow the developments very closely. The deadline for registering is today. For us, it is very important that we see well-prepared, free and fair elections later this year. The deadline for political parties to register for the June 18th elections ends today, and the opposition parties have refused to register, taking the crisis into an institutional dimension. With only a few hours left to register before the legal deadline, the Democratic Party chairman held a meeting today with opposition allies and confirmed their decision not to register for the June 18th elections. While speaking at the protesters' tent, the DP chairman gave a cryptic statement that he will make an important announcement regarding the opposition's battle without giving any other information. When asked by journalists whether the protest will end, the DP chairman responded, no. Political tension is expected to increase as a solution is difficult to see. The DP chairman said that the DP will hold a protest in Kavaje on May 7th, the day set for Kavaje's mayoral election. Sources within the Democratic Party say that the opposition is planning to block the voting centers in an effort to destroy the electoral process in Kavaje. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister responded to the opposition's threat, declaring that if the opposition doesn't want to register, he will run alone, not only in Kavaje, but also for the June 18th elections. The Socialist Party chairs held a meeting today to select their candidate for Kavaje's mayor, selecting Claudian Shehi, Kavaje's current vice mayor. Meanwhile, the opposition announced they will not participate in Kavaje's mayoral election and will protest instead, with the goal of stopping the electoral process. The elections in Kavaje are being held out of term due to Elvis Roshi's mandate having been removed by the Constitutional Court, as he was found to have violated the decriminalization law. The Socialist Party's candidate is the only candidate in the local election so far, as the Socialist Movement for Integration has also declared it will not participate. Tirana's mayor, Mr. Veliaj, inspected the reconstruction site at the School of Ballet, where he called on Albanian citizens to vote for those who work on June 18th, declaring that citizens can see a clear difference between those who are focused on work and those who are focused on blocking work. He said, "To Tirana citizens, it is clear that society is divided into two parts, a part that is focused on work, that is invested in work, and the other part that is trying to return to the Albania of words and blocking. I believe that the citizens are more enthusiastic about building more schools rather than setting up more tents. They are more optimistic about building more roads. They are more willing to focus on work rather than sleep," declared the mayor, emphasizing that June 18th is the time for citizens to show their evaluation of what they want. The mayor added, "We should support an Albania of work on June 18th. We should show that our offer is for more jobs, progress, and more investments. In Tirana, we have the right to look people in their eyes because we have kept our promises. June 18th is the ideal moment to receive an evaluation, to see whether these progressive politics of the government and of City Hall are how we make progress." The Albanian Helsinki Committee has sent an appeal of the decriminalization law to the Constitutional Court. The Helsinki Committee has appealed point 4 of Article 2 of the law, considering it to be unconstitutional. According to this article, people sentenced with prison time for criminal offenses inside or outside Albania have no right to vote or select candidates for members of parliament or members of local government. In the request it submitted to the Constitutional Court, the Albanian Helsinki Committee expresses its concern about restricting the right to vote. Driven by this concern, the Albanian Helsinki Committee made a careful analysis of the law regarding the restriction of the right to vote to see whether this restriction is in accordance with the Constitution and the European Convention of Human Rights. At the end of the analysis, the Albanian Helsinki Committee reached the conclusion that the restriction of the right to vote is not in accordance with the Constitution, and for this reason it asked for the repeal of point 4 of the article of the decriminalization law. The Constitutional Court is expected to review the request in an open session. The Parliamentary Economic Commission discussed and approved the bill for the self-funding of local governments today. The bill imparts the right for city halls to self-manage their revenues and gives them the right to impose temporary taxes for a period no longer than 3 years. The Minister of Finance explained that the bill does not allow the city halls to abuse their power through increased taxes. The government's bill comes after 2 years of consultations with experts and stakeholders. The bill will also stop the city halls from creating arrears by not paying their obligations. According to the Minister of Finance, the bill will provide more transparency and bring more revenue to the city halls, which, the minister added, will be used for public investments. According to the new law, the city halls will not make unfounded predictions, will not be allowed to increase expenditures, and then end up with unpaid obligations, deepening the deficit, said the Minister of Finance. For the first time, 1% of the gross domestic product will be given to local governments as an unconditional transfer. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.